In trying to decide what order I will be sharing my experiences with the paranormal, I thought, of course, start at the very beginning and go chronologically. However, for this third video, that just wasn't feeling right. Well, this week seemed every time I went on YouTube or talked to somebody, something came up about shadow people. Now, being one who follows signs and synchronicities, I said, third video. I'll do it on my experiences with shadow people. And actually, doing the shadow people video now fits in better and will make more sense for what the next video would be, despite that being chronological, if you understand what I mean. My first experience with a shadow person is actually quite a personal story for me and has always been quite hard to talk about. Very few people know about this, but I think it's important to share these stories because too many times, too many people want to say it's imagination, you're crazy, you're lying. And I think the more of us that come out and share our experiences, the more it becomes mainstream. And I truly do believe we help each other when we share these experiences. My grandfather was someone I loved dearly and respected. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. I lost him in 2001, and the night before he went for his surgery, of course, I wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. I went over to his house and we were watching TV together, and I turned to tell him something, and when I looked, I saw a charcoal-colored mist in front of him. It was rather clearish in the middle, but still not completely transparent and darker around the edges. I thought it was my eyes, and I started getting frightened. I blinked, I looked around the room, no mist. I looked back at the TV, I said, well, maybe it was just a shadow or some kind of thing with my eyes. Everything seemed fine. I turned back to tell my grandfather something else. There was the mist again in front of him. A little over a month, he had passed from his operation. Very, very, very sad time for me. Very, very hard to talk about. Go forward 2 years after that, my grandparents' house was in back of my house. It's still there now, of course, but it's been sold. And there was at that time a gate that went between the two houses. I was walking through the gate to come home from visiting my grandmother, and I will quickly show you. There's a tree. The pool wasn't here. This huge weeping cherry was not here. Just my dwarf crab apple. I looked over toward here, and it's right here where I'm standing. There was a dark mist, charcoal colored, transparent in the middle, solid on the edges, about 6 feet. I know this is going to sound very cliched, but it is the truth. It looked like a human being with a sheet thrown over. However, in the middle, I could see through it, and it undulated back and forth slowly the way water would move. I wasn't frightened. It didn't seem malevolent. It didn't give any kind of vibe off, actually quite neutral. I looked at it for at least 20 seconds and it dispersed. I proceeded to walk through the gate and come home. No fear, thinking really nothing, which at this point seems rather odd that I didn't say, hey, look. Well, I went in my house, came back out in another hour, started heading back to my grandmother's, and all of a sudden the black mist came frontwards in front of me, but it was going from my house toward my grandmother's house sideways, yes, as if it was indeed flying, and it just missed cracking into me. And I will say this, that the velocity at which it was traveling, the wind was unbelievable, that almost knocked me off my feet. Again, I didn't feel anything. There was nothing malevolent, and it didn't seem strange. I went about my business, and when I got back home at night, I said to my mom, hey, guess what I saw today? And I don't know why I didn't seem more shocked or upset. It's just kind of in passing, as if you would say, hey, I saw a robin sitting on the grass. It was that neutral. A couple of years beyond that, I had someone come over to give me a price for some work on my house. He was sitting on my couch. He looked at my kitchen and he said, oh, I just saw a shadow person in your kitchen. Did you know you had shadow people around your house? And I answered him, oh, yes, I know that. And I thought, in hindsight again, how odd that he just casually mentioned that he saw a shadow person, and I responded thinking nothing of it. Yes, indeed, there are shadow people here. My next sighting, and actually third and last sighting that I've had so far with shadow people, happened at a time that a very dear friend of mine was quite ill and soon to pass. My mother knew I didn't really want to be alone, so she sat and watched TV with me. I dozed off, and when I woke up, I thought was my mother leaning forward with her, fist on her cheek, seemed kind of melancholy, a bit sad, as if she was leaning in to hear TV turned down low to not wake me up. So I started to say, "Mom, I must have dozed off," and I heard her say, "What?" And I looked to my right where she had been sitting, and she dozed off as well. Well, I looked back to where I thought my mother was sitting, and there was nobody there. Now, this person absolutely seemed like a female, as if their hair was pinned up. My mom's hair was pinned up. I almost say it was Lisa Simpson if you filed down the points. That's what the person looked like. However, was solid black, and so solid that where the doorway would be, I could not see through the doorway. The person was actually blocking in between where I was sitting, where that person was sitting, and the doorway. Now, are these black mists reapers? Are they shadow people? I don't know. I'd love to discuss this further, and I really want to hear what people think, what their experiences are, but most important of all, I think we need to share them. Very, very important. These are very, very rough stories for me to talk about, but I'm very glad that I did. And that's all for now. Thank you for listening.